Hello, Ryan speaking.
Ryan, hey, it's Rustin with Metalholic and Access. How you doing, man?
Good, thanks, mate. How you doing?
I am doing pretty good. The end of a long day of interviews for you. That's got to feel like almost like breaking out of hell right there, right?
Well, fortunately, I found myself a nice Irish pub on the strip, so I'm actually doing all right.
Well, you can't go wrong there then. Well, let's chat a little bit, and I'll let you be done for the night so you can enjoy your party time. So,
sounds good, mate.
Aside from an album packed with head-banging, middle finger to authority, party your ass off rock and roll, what can you tell us about Breakin Outta Hell?
Well, it's an album that I guess we're extremely proud of. It's something that it was the first record we've ever done in Australia, our home country. Everything else we've been done here in the States. We flew out the dream team, Bob Marlette, who produced our first record, Running Wild, and this one's been engineered by Mike Fraser, who's obviously world-renowned, probably one of the best engineers in the world. And I guess the general consensus and the message of the record is Breakin Outta Hell. It's what the band's about. We're always about having a good time. We're always about trying to make sure people just actually realise that sometimes life doesn't have to be that negative as much as we see on TV. And you can actually forget about the shit and have a good time. And that's what we do. And ever since Run Wild and songs like Live It Up, this whole record, you from start to finish, you put it on, and you don't even have to think. You can just leave it on, crack a few beers with your buddies, maybe have a good time with the girl, and just fucking enjoy life.
And you mentioned it already. You went back to Bob Marlette, who did the first album with you guys. You picked Mike Fraser to come in and engineer, who engineered the second album, if memory serves. What made you guys sort of go back to the beginning with the guys that helped you on those first couple of records?
Well, we always wanted to work with Bob again, and the scheduling never worked out that way. So we were kind of really fortunate enough to work with him again on this one. Because he always said, when we made the first one, let's work again together when you guys have matured, and he'll pull a bit more out of us. And he did in tracks like Rivalry and stuff like that. You can definitely see him getting more out of the band. And then Fraser only mixed the second record, but to actually have him come in the studio and engineer and mix, so literally put the mics in front of the cabs and the drums and get the tones that we wanted was a dream come true. So, and then do it in Australia. It was amazing.
So aside from doing it in Australia for the first time, did you guys try anything different on this record than the previous ones, or did you as a drummer try anything that you hadn't tried before?
I think Bob definitely got me doing more interesting drum fills. He definitely pushed the drumming a lot more, so in that respect, he didn't just let me get away with simple 4/4, I mean, it's obviously what the whole record is, but there's definitely interchanges between songs that are a lot more interesting, especially in Rivalry and stuff like that. So definitely helped me with that. And the whole approach to the whole record it's almost like be airborne, but do it better. So the best way I can describe it is like if what we've done in the past is a Jack and Coke, what we did this time around is a double Jack and Coke.
Well, I love the record, everything that I've heard on it. And we can't talk about every song on the album. One of my favorites on the record is Do Me Like You Do Yourself. Can you even play that with a straight face?
Well, see, that's the beauty of some of these songs. Well, see, Down on You, well, there's not even a double entendre on that, it's just a single entendre. But Do Me Like You Do Yourself, no, you can't. And that's what's great about it, because it's supposed to, it's supposed to get that reaction because it's about having a laugh. In Airbourne, we take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And Breakin Outta Hell has got its own thing and stuff like that. But Never Too Loud for Me. But then songs like Do Me Like You Do Yourself make a great T-shirt.
It does, and it sounds like it goes tongue in groove with Down on You. So,
I know they're like sister and sister. I think they're two bad girls.
So you got My Sharona playing in the background there. You guys need to play that and Airbourne it up, man.
Absolutely.
Now the final track on the record, It's All for Rock and Roll, that's something of a tribute to Lemmy, right?
Yeah, that was written about Lemmy, and that was the last lyrics we wrote in the studio.
And I know he was a hero for you guys. What did you take away most from who Lemmy was as a person?
Well, I used to see him backstage a lot in the festivals, and I remember him always popping his head in. Once he popped it in, he always said, just remember, don't change for anybody. Labels will come and go. Just stay true to who you are and what you believe in and what you play, and stay true to rock and roll. And that was, that's the epitome of Lemmy. And we've always loved to have that kind of advice from such a great guy.
When you guys have stayed true to who Airbourne is, your sound hasn't ultimately changed, as you said. You guys have a signature. You just keep amping it up a little bit every record. And when you started, you were like 17, if I remember correctly. You turned 30 this year. Belated happy birthday. How much has your perspective of things changed over that time, musically and personally?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, we're sitting here now at 30, talking to you in the Sunset Strip, having a beer, and rock and roll is my career description on a visa. It's amazing. I still pinch myself to this about this, and it's like 10 years ago. I remember trying to get into the Rainbow down the road whilst we were recording Running Wild down in Henson, just down the road here, and from then, everything that's happened. I mean, when we were making that first album, YouTube was only out for a year. Facebook didn't even exist. Of course, there was the whole Napster thing that, I was surprised that we survived. But I guess that's the part of the whole journey. You don't want it to be handed to you. It's a lot. It is this kind of, the hard times actually make it a lot more fun sometimes when you look back and think about living on 2-minute noodles and just getting the job done. It makes it great.
So does it take you guys longer to recuperate these days after a night of partying?
Well, see, it should. But the unfortunate thing is, with doing it over such a long time, you learn a few tricks of the trade, so to speak. I don't want to really exactly endorse any. I might get sued. But, if you take antihistamines before bed after drinking, it'll allow you to sleep properly so you don't have as bad a hangover. And little things like that, which that help. But I guess it just comes down to experience and continuing the same thing.
Follow the proud tradition of Lemmy all the way to the end, right? Now,
exactly.
You guys kick off your North American tour this weekend. You guys have played all over the world. For you, what's the difference in your mind between like Aussie crowds, European crowds, American crowds, and so forth?
I mean, it's the best thing about rock and roll crowds around the world is they're very similar in a way that they've got each other's back. If somebody comes over the rail, or like if somebody's crowd surfing and they fall down, you'll see a rock and roll crowd will always make sure they pick them up. And that's always great to see. It's like a big rock and roll community. Everyone's got each other's back, and it's always awesome.
As soon as I hang up with you, I have to race over to see Volbeat tonight. They're in town here. Aren't you touring with them later this year? Yeah, we're doing a European tour with Volbeat not long after the US tour. And I think most of that tour is pretty much sold out in Europe, and it's going to be really cool. Yeah, you guys have distinctly different styles, but they mesh so well together. I think that would be a phenomenal tour. Right. Yeah, we've toured with them in the States, and it always seems to work out really well. Absolutely. All right, so you and I have never had a chance to chat before, so tell me a bit about where you drew your own personal influences from. I mean, what were some of the records that made a big impact on you when you were growing up, learning how to play drums and getting into rock and roll? Well, the first one would have to be Razor's Edge, AC/DC, because the Thunderstruck film clip, when it came on TV, I remember my brother and I, we've seen that, and I was like 4, he must have been like 8, but we were so young, but it captured our enthusiasm about that kind of sound, and it was like the greatest thing in the world that we'd ever seen, and we just put it on repeat. And then from there, pretty Steel, Judas Priest. I always liked listening to a bit of Judas Priest when I was growing up. And another one, actually, when I was used to drive around in the car, kind of doing laps, trying to pick up chicks, is For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge by Van Halen. And that song, Here We Go Around. Well, that song was always awesome I don't know. It just to me, it was like that, and Def Leppard was my perfect summer vibe. Unfortunately, I grew up in the completely wrong era, and it was never very successful with the women. But at least I tried. I really did try. And so, for you as a drummer, was there anybody in particular that you emulated early on as you were trying to find your own style? It was just Phil Rudd. I mean, being in the pocket. He's the drummer's drummer, He just puts it in the pocket and doesn't move, and that
to me. It's a skill, and it's hard to master to be able to get that pocket without moving. And I every time we play, it's all I focus on is trying to keep the beat exactly in time.
All right, so last question, just for fun. Your brother and I both love binge-watching Netflix. Not together, obviously. Are you the same?
Yeah.
What are some of your shows that you really love?
Well, I mean, Vikings and all that was pretty cool, and Black Sails. But I think I've been watching Marco Polo lately, but it's a bit slow, but it's pretty chilled. I don't know. Other than that, I don't mind a bit of David Attenborough. To be honest. So, just to try, really flip the opposite of what's going on every other day. So, yeah, helps me take a breath.
Awesome, Ryan. Thanks so much for taking the time. You, Joel, and the rest of the band have a fantastic tour. Hopefully I'll get a chance to catch you at some point while you're out on the road.
Absolutely, dude. I look forward to it. Absolutely.
Take care, my friend. Go enjoy your evening.